Hello and welcome to Maldorma TV. This is episode 11 and I'm Tobias.
And I'm Magnus.
In the previous episode we talked about how the world is action and illusion, and Magnus received a meditation technique from the spirit world.
Yeah, it was you use your hand to manifest things in your life, basically.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about something else. And for those of you who have listened to our episodes, you have probably noticed that I am in contact with an entity that talks about itself as God. And my experience is that it is God as well.
Yeah.
And I often write down questions prior to our journeys because perhaps I want to know something or learn something. And prior to this experience, I wrote down a question to God where I asked him if he could manifest in the physical for me, show himself in a physical form.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool, basically.
Yeah, the physical manifestation of God, I'm assuming, would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So we started off our journey by going into the woods.
Yeah.
And quite early on, I was sitting down by a tree and meditating. And quite early, I could feel a presence approaching, like sneaking up on me.
Yeah, that's funny. When you are in the spirit world, you feel the presence, like there's someone in the room or someone in the nearby.
Yeah. And
like
it's really strong as well.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Someone is there when you feel them. And I could feel this entity, but I couldn't see it. And it was moving towards me in the woods. And it felt like I was looking for it to see if I could see it. And suddenly had a strong sensation that it was actually inside the very tree in front of me. And I could feel how it was looking at me through this tree.
Yeah.
And suddenly, when I realized this, a voice talked in my head, and it was the old familiar God voice.
Yeah.
And he said, "Here I am, Magnus, in physical form. I am this tree." And then I looked to the next tree and he said, "I'm that tree as well. I'm all of the trees, and I'm everything." And what he was trying to tell me, of course, was that he's always showing himself in physical form for me, because he's everything.
Yeah, it's just in everyday life we don't see it.
Yeah, we don't think about everything we see as a manifestation of God.
Yeah,
at least not all of us, and I wasn't at that point. I did know this in theory, but I wasn't really, practicing it everyday life, and it was kind of funny. I felt like, of course, this is the way it is. I mean, God is everything, so he has a physical form, everything.
Yeah.
That's the easy answer, and that was kind of the lesson he wanted to give me during that that experience. And after this, we decided to go inside, and we started to go towards the house. And suddenly I felt this really strong and heavy feeling kind of pushing down on me, and it felt really bad. And it was so bad that I really felt like I needed to sit down immediately. I couldn't walk because it felt like there was this darkness pressing towards my consciousness.
Yeah, I've had an experience with that as well. When you were in the presence of dark entities or negative energies, it just feels like you're being crushed by this energy, and it's just pretty much the same. I guess you feel it in the same way when you're depressed in your everyday life. You feel like you're in this small cocoon and the outside world is just trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
But when you have it in this experience in the spiritual world, it's much, much stronger.
Yeah, and I sat down and felt like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And when I watched the ground and my legs, I could see like it looked like hell, like all these insects and gory stuff floating around. It was really bizarre and nasty.
Yeah.
And I felt, what the hell is this? And I started kind of panic a little bit because the pressure towards my consciousness, the really nasty visuals felt really, it felt like it was sickness, tainted with some real nasty disease or something, everything.
Yeah, and here's a small comment is when you see the outside world, when you're in this state of being, in this negative state of being, everything outside looks, like you said, it looks like hell. It looks more ugly, more depressing, more dark. And it's the same way when you're in everyday life. If you're depressed, the outside world starts to feel or start to see much more dark or
and pointless and all of that. It's kind of a filter that you put on, basically.
It becomes so obvious when you're in the spirit world because it changes like that, and you just see it manifest instantaneously. And
I remember thinking while I was in this experience, having this very bad experience, I felt like, well, I'm gonna look at this, and I asked God, because I just had contact with him, about the tree thing just minutes before, and I asked, what is happening, what is this? And then he actually said, this is the state of mind that people who are really depressed are in. They don't have these visuals that I had because I was on psychedelics, but pretty much as you described, this was how people actually feel when they are really, really depressed.
It's if you look at like an object, a happy person look at an object, and a depressed person look at the object. They see two different things.
And I think this was also the kind of level where you're almost suicidal or something like that. And it felt really bad, and I had never felt anything like it. And I kind of asked God, well, if people have this kind of, are in these states, can I help them in some way? And I asked God is it possible for me to take psychedelics because it opens up to the spiritual realm and kind of use the spiritual powers to dissolve people's darkness, basically. And God said, no, that's impossible. You can never go in and alter their consciousness in that way. At least not me. Perhaps God can do it. Of course God can do it. But I cannot do it. He said, the only thing that you can do is to be the light. To show the way how to live a life in a happy life with love and all that, and be the light in the world, and they will be drawn to that light because they don't like the state of where they are at that point, and they will follow you and see how you do to create that happiness around you.
And we have been talking about depression in previous episode as well, but the thing about depression is when you're depressed, you want to be in the darkness for a while. I mean, you want to be in the darkness until you suffer. Then you see a person or something that just makes you see the light in life. And then you're going to get attracted to that, and you just want to gravitate towards the light, basically.
And self-realized persons, enlightened beings, they have the power to help these kind of people. They are the light manifested in human form. And but I felt like when God said this to me, Magnus, that you have to be the light, then you can help these people. I felt, well, I'm far from being the light. I have a lot of bad personal habits, and I can be jealous, and I can be angry, and all of this, and I can lie, and all of that. And I felt like I'm not that light you're talking about. And then God started to talk about, well, there actually is you can never exclude the darkness in life, because God is everything. God is the light, but he is also the darkness. And the thing is not to push away the darkness, but to embrace it. And take it all in, and find a kind of he said you need to find a balance point between the light and the dark. It's like the yin and yang symbol. You have to learn how to cope with the darkness in a way that you get a balance. And in this balance point, that's where God is hiding. When you find this balance, you have found the God state, basically.
I mean, it's if you're really, really happy, you forget about God because you're just in this happy mode. And when you're really, really depressed, you forget about God because you're in such suffering. I mean, the only escape from either just experiencing happiness or just experiencing bad things is just to be the balance point, especially as you said. And
it has to do with, if you try to cut off the darkness, that creates, a separate entity. But God is everything, so you can't really, if you are trying to get rid of something, you're living in the illusion that there are several objects. It's good and bad and all that, but if everything is one, as all these gurus are talking about, and also the message that we have received, the darkness is also part of this one. And you cannot never push it away. You have to embrace it and learn how to use it in a way that doesn't make you suffer, basically. So it's only the only reason why we are experiencing what we call darkness as suffering is because we have this dual point of view where we see things as separate things, and that also always creates suffering. But as soon as we see them as one, we will find this balance point, and that's something you have to work on, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the only way to, I think, to get rid of suffering is to, I mean, suffering is there are always going to be good events in your life, and there's always going to be bad events in your life. So the only thing that you can actually change is your view on it.
Yeah, and we just need to take everything in and learn how to deal with the things. And I think Ramdas said in the, I think we mentioned this movie before, Fierce Grace, that suffering doesn't go away when you become enlightened. It's just how you respond to this suffering that changes. You don't suffer because of, you can still hurt yourself and have a bad teeth or something like that, but you won't suffer in the way that other people do. So everything is still there. It's just your way of dealing with it that changes, basically. So after this experience and this explanation, we went inside, and we sat down in the sofa, and
I think we turned on was it Miracle, like this frequency music, 528 hertz music, which is just basically a vibration. And I just remember that you said that it had a tremendous effect on you when you were sat in this vibration.
And you were sitting next to me, and I was starting to write down all the information that I had received outside, because I didn't want to forget this. So I started to write down on the computer, and God was basically, expanding this explanation a little bit more. I'm not going to go into it right here. It's in the book if you want to see it in more detail. But I was writing down for quite a while and having this dialogue with God for, I don't know, probably half an hour or something like that. Perhaps longer, I don't know. And then suddenly from nowhere, God said, you need to take Tobias down now. He has went off to really high vibrations, and you need to take him down.
I just remember this event. As you said, I was sitting there, and I was just thinking to myself, because you had all these questions that you wanted to answer, and I started thinking to myself, which answers do I need? Which questions do I want answered? And I couldn't find any questions. So I just thought, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna be here and just go with the flow.
See what happens.
So I didn't have any answers, and I just saw within my mind's eye, I saw like a ladder. Like I was running upwards this ladder, and
or staircase or something.
A staircase or something. Like that. And I just remember running further and further away, and it felt like for each step that I took, I went deeper and deeper into myself, or the spiritual experience, if you will.
And I also remember that you said after this, when you described this experience, that these steps kind of represented
like different layers of spiritual progress, or not spiritual progress, but
the evolutionary progress of the soul, in a way. You go up to this step, and then you have all this incarnation, and then you go to the next one and next one. But you were kind of running by the side and passing all of these levels without actually living through them.
So I was just running back to what felt like the source. So I was passing by all these experiences, or all these steps in the spiritual evolution. And I also remember when I just was running past these steps, I could see you in one of these steps, talking to what I saw was a face, like an entity talking to you, and you were sitting there having a communication with him, and he was telling you things, and you were like, oh, okay, asking questions back and forth. It was just a really surreal experience, but I just kept going. And I came to the point where it felt like everything just stopped to exist. Like I came to the root of the existence. It felt like time just disappeared. It felt like I was somewhere where physical body didn't exist anymore. It was before the planets existed. It was before mankind existed. Before anything had manifested, like in the core root of
like the realm of the unmanifested. Where it's like silence. I like Alan Watts used this analogy where silence is the space where sound will emerge from. Because everything that is said is waiting in the silence to be said. And so silence is like the unmanifested. It's nothing until you use it to create sounds.
So it felt like I was, if you will, we are normally in the non-silence. Like here is something happening. It's making a lot of noise. But I went back to the silence before sound even existed. And I just remember that everything just seemed to slow down. And I was just like there was nothing there. Besides just consciousness, pure peace. Was no experience. Well, I had an experience, but the experience was very different from this one.
And I know Buddhists talk about this as experiencing that nothingness is actually possible to experience. And you can never really describe it since it's you have no reference to it. The intellect cannot grasp the concept of nothingness. But it's actually an experience that you can have.
The only thing I could see in this experience was a slow moving spiral. I had come to the root of the spiral. You know, in a spiral, there's you have the root in the middle, and it just starts to go bigger and bigger and bigger. It felt like I was in the root, and I was in the center, and just looking at the spirals going out through the universe. And I was just in the center, observing it. And
in the still point in the middle where nothing is really happening.
And just slow movements. I could just see these slow spirals just moving, and these spirals creating everything. And I could see like everything had like from the start of creation to where we are now. It just goes through these spirals, creation, just becoming bigger. It was a quite amazing experience.
And during this time, I was sitting right next to you. And having this conversation that you saw me have in this vision of yours. And I was writing down, and God just abruptly stopped and said, you need to take Tobias down. Because he has gone away to a really high level.
And I didn't realize it when I was there, but I understand if what I experienced, I'm never going to be able to explain in words to justify what it actually was. But when I came back, I just,
I also felt that I had almost forgot that you sat there. So I was looking at, he's right here. And I think I started to talk to you.
And I opened my eyes, and I just looked around, and I thought, what the hell is this? What is all these bright things? Like, there's objects around me, there's light, there's a person sitting there, there's sound coming out, and I was like, I was experiencing this for the very first time. It felt like I had gone to a place where this never existed, and I just came back to it like this. And it was just mind-blowing because it was all new. Like I experienced being born there for a moment.
And I remember thinking that you looked the same to me.
Yeah.
But I could see that you were very disoriented. And I was trying to talk to you and you were like, almost didn't understand what I was talking about. And yeah.
I just remember words. I didn't pick up on the words in the beginning. It just started to take a while to get acquainted back to the normal reality again. And yeah, when I came back, it was like I felt my body for the first time again. Like everything was new.
Yeah.
I just remember I started to like touching my jaw, touching my body. I see what is this? Why am I in this big meaty clump or big meaty thing where I just move around in this one? I was just over there right now where I had nothing of this. I was just pure consciousness.
And the body felt like limitations, perhaps, in a way, I guess.
Yeah, like I was now trapped inside this one.
Yeah, this rough experience.
Yeah, who threw me into this one?
Yeah. Amazing experience, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, well, do something. I think God told me that I still had a contact with him. Like, tell him to do something regularly, like I think I asked you to go into Facebook or something. Just open your computer and do something. Yeah. Because that will take you down and ground in the physical reality. Do something like Facebook, the most stupid thing you can do.
Yeah, I think I went into there and I understood nothing of it. I still don't. Then I went into a football page or soccer page, if you will, if you're in the US. And I was just standing, looking at these people running towards this round object, the football, and I had no idea why they were doing it. It's like, why do people do this?
And I think you said eventually, well, I think I need to take a walk or something to get back. You were still having real problems to come into the physical reality again. Yeah. And I thought, let's go out in the woods and take a walk. So I kind of took you out because I had to say, well, let's go over there, because you were still so disoriented. And
I felt like moving in my body, walking, was starting to come down. Yeah. So that had a positive effect on it.
And I couldn't really grasp, because I didn't know at this point what you had been experiencing. You told me that quite later, I think a few hours later, when you had come down really. So I started to talk to you about all the things that I had experienced, all this information. Yeah. And Tobias, I had a really cool experience, the balance point and God is everything and all that. Yeah. And you were like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you please keep quiet?
Yeah, I just felt like when you were talking, I was like going back there again. Yeah. I understood nothing what you said. I couldn't understand anything. Like minor sentences just made sense, but beyond that, I couldn't grasp it.
And what happened next was quite amazing for me as well, because we went outside and I was kind of rooted in this physical reality. I hadn't gone away in that way, and I never left my body during this experience. But while we were walking, I suddenly felt how the energies were rising really quickly. Yeah. And the wood started to, like dissolve into this white thing that you talked about earlier when you meditate. Yeah. But it was happening just in front of my eyes, and I was walking around, and I could feel how we were entering into other dimensions. I felt like Tobias is dragging us up in frequency again. And I knew intuitively that you were doing this. You were the one that was, going away, and I was I was now in your energy. So it was happening to me again. And you wasn't really aware of this because you were still disoriented.
I think in my subconscious, I just was being like pulled back there. Yeah. With it. I had to make a conscious effort to try and calm down with your help as well. Yeah. I don't know if I would have been alone, how I would been able to handle it, because I was really disoriented.
But I think I started talking to you, telling you, Tobias, you need to come back down again. Yeah. Don't do this. And I needed to start talking to you. And then you slowly started to be able to talk again. And the physical reality became more normal. This white light disappeared and we were back in the physical. And then gradually you came down. Yeah. But one funny thing as well that happened during this, when God told me that, when he abruptly stopped and said, now you need to pick down Tobias, I felt that he had absolutely 100% control of what was happening all the time. And he just said, now it's time. And there was really, I just knew that there wasn't really no danger. Yeah. That you were allowed to go there because I was there to kind of safeguard you. And I don't think actually that you would have been allowed to go there if it wasn't for me being there. God had this, he handled this situation and he knew what was happening and how to deal with it, basically.
Yeah, 100% sure of that. Yeah,
that was the feeling that I had, that everything is under control. Not our control, but God's control.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really scared, even though it was a very weird experience in many ways, but I was not really scared, actually.
Yeah, and I think, we started to try to talk about more everyday things instead of all these teachings that you have received, just to try to calm down a bit more.
Because when you talk about the spiritual, you tend to raise your energies. Yeah. Even if you're, sober and doesn't have eat mushrooms or something like that.
Yeah.
I tend to rise in energy just by talking about spirituality. But if you do like these everyday things like making a sandwich or anything like that, you will kind of get rooted in the physical. So we started to do things like that.
Yeah. And I also remember we started walking back to the house. Yeah. And I don't know what we talked about, but I think we just started cracking jokes or something like that.
Yeah. And we have done this during several journeys. Yeah. We had this kind of joke about God that we were running. I don't know if you're gonna go into that joke right now, but it seemed we had this funny idea of that we could make a joke about God, and even this information kind of fitted into that joke that we have built during several journeys. Well, I know this will sound kind of fussy for the listener, but basically we were spinning on that joke that we had done.
Yeah, previous. Like an internal joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what happened when we started laughing and we just got in high vibration directly. Yeah. Like in an instant, we were just traveling back up there again.
But when we started to laugh, we went away in the vibrations immediately.
Yeah.
And in that instant, when that happened, I had an insight that the reason why you do that is laughter is actually your happiness, and laughter is a side effect, if you want to call it a side effect, of happiness.
Yeah.
And happiness is our true nature. So when you are happy and laugh, you resonate with your divine state, basically, your true state of being. So laughing and being happy made us, losing reality again.
Yeah.
Because we were resonating with the spiritual world. So we had to do things like really took us down and boring stuff.
Yeah, I think we just went inside eventually and just started to do really boring stuff just to try to mellow down or come down.
Yeah, I think we went into the kitchen and started to do things like that, yeah.
Yeah, but one thing that I took with me when I did this travel to this place was a feeling when I came back. I had a feeling that everything is going to be all right.
Yeah.
My life, my afterlife, like my next life, it felt like everything, it doesn't matter. Everything is going to unfold in the right way.
Yeah.
Like all the necessary information I would ever need to accomplish self-realization will come to me when I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay in the end.
Yeah.
It was just like a really satisfying feeling.
Yeah.
And
I had that several times during these journeys, but sometimes you kind of forget it for a while and get pulled into the dramas of everyday life.
Yeah.
But we're getting there slowly.
Yeah, and we just have to trust it. But, I mean, when I went into this journey and came back from it, to have the feeling that, all right, what I took with me from that experience was just, okay, everything is going to be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about, will we have enough information to talk about in the podcast?
Yeah.
Really worried about a lot of things, and I just had this feeling like the information will come.
Yeah.
Everything will be all right.
I actually remember that when we were outside and laughing all that, you said that, well, now I start to remember, that's when you started to tell me about your experience.
Yeah.
And you also said one thing, that when you were in this stillness, this silence, you knew that you were actually being fed information that would kind of come out eventually as time passed along. Not now. You didn't remember it, but you knew that it will come out. And it did actually during the few weeks later, I think.
Yeah.
Information started to pour down and you were
just remembering the days afterwards, or I think it was weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the middle of the night and just run up to my computer and write things down.
Yeah, and you
downloading stuff.
Yeah, and you made symbols and things like that, and that was from this experience. The place where you were at, you were given things. Basically.
I didn't remember that I received any teachings. It was just that it will come to you. Yeah, don't worry, we will take care of it. It will come. Yeah, and rightfully it did. A few weeks later, I had a lot of information, things that I have never encountered before. Just starting downloading, waking up in the middle of the night, writing it all down. As you said, symbols that represented certain things, and this is all things that we will showcase in the next book we are writing together.
Yeah, we are doing a book together, and that book will probably not be released in quite a while. Yeah. We have a lot of journeys that we have not talked about, and I have saved a lot of information that I have received because it doesn't fit in the book Illusion that I have given out, or your book Stepping into the Unknown that will soon be released. Yeah. So this third book will basically be information about how everything works. Yeah. The spiritual world, all the mechanics. I don't know how to say it. Mechanics. Thank you. I wasn't even close.
Swedish.
Yeah, I'm a Swede. Bad grammar. Yeah. But how everything works basically. So we're gonna keep on that stuff, hold that to ourselves for a while, and we need to actually sit down and work it through, I guess. To make it understandable.
Yeah. It's going to be a challenge, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of, if we don't do it right, it will be hard to understand it, but it needs work, but it's going to be really good. I do remember one thing more that I received during this experience. When you were spacing away and I was sitting inside, God was also talking about a very significant piece of information that actually became our slogan, Maldorma slogan, give up and become. Yeah. Because we use that, as you can see on our website and Facebook page, that it has this sentence that says give up and become, and that's actually from this journey. And it started off that God told me that when you get enlightened, you do that by surrendering to God, giving up. And they talk about it in Buddhism and Hinduism, all that, and it really has to do, that when you give up, you will become God. So give up and you will become what you truly are. And God actually said that you can use this as your slogan. Sounds kind of cheesy that God will give us a slogan, but that's exactly how it happened. That's why we use it. We received it during this journey. And he also said that you have to kind of let everything go. Not that you will give up everything in your life and quit your job. It's not that kind of giving up. It's more like giving up all your fears and worries and all your problems. You can still do things, but don't worry about it. You give your problems to God, basically. Let Him take care of it. You don't need to worry. God is under control. You don't control jack shit. So just let it go and see what happens in life. And you will naturally slide into, when you give up, you automatically slide into your natural state.
And that's exactly what I took with me from this experience. I had this feeling that everything is going to be all right. Yeah. So there was no reason to worry anymore. I could just let it go, and just give it up.
And when you give up all your worries, all your fears, you will slide into a state where you just are. You have no need for everything. You have no worries. You just slide into this beingness, and that's actually what we are. That's the state of being that we are in when we are enlightened. So if we are able to do this, just give up, you will naturally by yourself just slide into this without effort. But the hard thing, of course, is to let go of all your fears and worries and all that. That's the
and the ego's way of saying, I mean, when you say I want to give up, and then your ego says, well, I can't give up. That's all the ego trying to just convince you that you can't give up. Just let go of that as well. Just let go of everything. Just let it go and see what happens.
Yeah, and the ego is afraid of losing something.
Yeah.
But it will never lose something because you're everything. That's when you're in the ego state. That's actually when you're losing the stuff. Yeah. Because you're losing your true identity, or you're missing out on happiness, love, and oneness, and all that. That we have. Yeah, the good stuff, basically. So by not giving up, you're giving up the best things. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a paradox, but that's the way it is. And even though we know this, we're still holding on to a lot of crap in life, basically. Ego stuff.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a
process. And I trust that the process will eventually lead me to give up.
Yeah, so do I.
So I don't worrying about not being able to give up.
No, that's actually just another worry.
Yeah.
That you have to give up.
Yeah.
The worry about not making progress fast enough.
Yeah. That can be a really tricky one. You can really easily get caught in that one.
That's actually Martinez talks about that. That's often, like the last thing that people tend to give up before they wake up is their desire to progress faster. To why is I'm not waking up?
Yeah,
you have to let that go as well, and just let God handle that.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest one, I think. And I do think that Buddhists and Hindus talk about that thing as well, that giving up the desire to wake up. And that's a tough one, I think.
That's a tough one. When you have especially when you go into these experiences and just know what it will be like when you actually give up, when you actually become self-realized.
Yeah.
And you just, all right, I just want to get there. I just want to get it, and give up that as well.
Yeah.
The sensation of just wanting to be there. That's a tough one.
And the funny thing with, enlightenment or awakening is that it's actually very easy. But it's an easy thing to do, but still it's hard to do.
Yeah.
And we make it hard, but the very process is really easy. You have to do nothing.
Yeah.
Just let everything go.
That's it.
That's the easy thing. It's an easy thing because it requires no effort. You don't have to sit in a cave and meditate for years upon years. That's just dragging things out. That's just making you prepared to give up, basically.
Yeah, what that is you're trying to convince your ego that I'm becoming ready to give up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to. You get this feeling that, well, I'm not worthy enough to give up and become God until I have meditated for 20 years in a cave. But that's bullshit.
Basically, well, it might be necessary because you're not ready. So, but not everyone needs to meditate for several years. That's just if you have to do that to get ready, do that, but you can do it like that as well, in an instant if you make the choice. So
all right.
Yeah.
So do we have anything more that we want to bring up in this podcast?
I think we'll save some of the stuff to the next episode. Then we actually have concluded a lot of the things that we covered in our two first books.
Yeah.
The Illusion and Stepping into the Unknown. And then we have I think we have much more material that we have not talked about or released, and we will give a lot of piece of that out in different episodes and videos as well. But basically, you might have to wait for this book that we are writing as well to get the whole picture. But we will release a lot of that information.
As time goes on.
Yeah.
And we also gonna start creating shorter videos as well, where we go into these concepts more in detail, focusing on small topics instead of just talking about these kind of things in the podcast. So we talk about topics instead.
Yeah.
In the next episode, we are going to talk about a really also a really powerful experience.
Yeah, especially for you, I think you had one of your strongest experiences which we were going to talk about in the next episode.
Yeah, I had this period where I was really spacing away.
Yeah.
So this was going to be quite an intense one as well. But it's going to involve the guru Maharaji. We can just hint at that.
Yeah, the guru of Ram Dass and Creation Das and all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be sure to check out Tobias' upcoming book. Look out for that. Stepping into the Unknown. It's very close now.
Yeah, we're aiming for the Swedish release in June. Then we'll see how long the translation will take. Hopefully after the summer or something.
Yeah, in fall, winter or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see how soon we can get it done.
Yeah, and you can also pick up my book, The Illusion, on Amazon or something like that if you want to.
Yeah.
Where I go into all these things in much more detail and other things as well. And of course, check out our website, our Facebook page, rest of our YouTube videos.
Yep. I think that's it.
I think that's it as well.
I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
All right. So be sure to check out the next episode as well. Thank you for today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.